Again, thank you for joining us for our workshop on prepping for college. And Mr. Mack, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so very much, Ms. George. I am excited to be here this evening to talk, to engage with the families of Cumberland County schools. So I'm ecstatic. You know, this is what I do, dealing with high schoolers every day. It is challenging, yet it is very, very rewarding. So I just want to say thank you to every parent, every student that is joining us for this evening's session. So I am most happy to be here with you and bring you greetings from Reed Ross Classical High School, where academics and the arts embrace excellence, and we are Cougar Nation. So just want to give you a shout out on behalf of our school and our school administration, Mr. Larry Parker, principal, Miss Kristen Etchison, high school assistant principal. So glad to be here. So this is a little bit of our journey today that you see on the screen. So we're going to do something a little different. I have some wonderful guests here with us that we'll get a chance to hear from as they will share their expertise. And I'm excited about the fact that you will get to hear from each one of them. I will start with some basic things to know with getting your students ready for all things college. And then we will move on with our panelist introductions for this evening. And then we're going to engage in a different format, if you will. And so I call it Myth Busters. And we're going to address 10 common myths or misunderstandings about college, what people have believed to be true, but may not actually be true or not entirely true. So we will have we actually do have 10 myths that we will address this evening, and our wonderful panelists of admissions representatives from area colleges will help us go through and debunk all of these myths. So again, we're excited about having them here. So I want to go ahead and get started. If we advance to the next screen. These are guidelines that we just want to make sure that you know what's going on. Ms. George addressed most of these, so please make sure you're adhering to the rules of the room. Thank you so much. Again, we will address questions at the end. So here we go. And I want you to hold this screen until we can get our responses in. So Ms. George and team, I'm gonna want you to monitor the chat for the first few responses, and I'm gonna get the closest response that I see. So here's the brain stimulator. How many colleges and universities are there in North Carolina? The total should include 2-year and 4-year schools. We're going to keep the screen right here. Drop your best guess in the chat. No cheating, no Googling, or anything like that. Drop a quick answer in the chat and we'll see what we have. I'll give you 5 more minutes. 5 more seconds, excuse me. All right, let's advance that screen and we're going to see how you did. The answer is 111 schools in the state. And there may be people who did not realize that for North Carolina, 58 community colleges, 16 public universities, and 37 private and independent colleges. So now I'm going to need somebody to help me, Ms. George and company. I need to know who was our first responder, who was the closest to the 111. Who was the first parent and or student who was closest to the 111?
Patricia, can you help with that in the chat?
Yeah. You got 100 at 606. Shalon Long came in at 606, and you have 100 at 606. Sarah came in with that. So those two are the closest, same time frame. You got 116.
Okay.
At 606. You got a 3-way tie. I see it. Yep. Renata came in at 6:06. Yeah, three-way tie.
Five away, six away. I do see Clanton Moyd as well. Thank you. I think closest to all of my 100s are 11 off, but my 116 is only 5 away. So I
Right.
believe that Miss Renata
Renata.
Clanton Moyd is going to have won our brain stimulator. I just so happen to know how to reach Miss Clanton Moyd. And so check your inbox in about an hour, Ms. Clanton Moyd, just for participating. Thank you so much. Thank you, students, and thank you, parents. So there are a lot of choices here, which is the point of this first question, if you will. There are a lot of options in the state. And of course, I hear a lot of students talk about going out of state. I want to be out of the state, but there is so much to choose from here in North Carolina that many families did not even realize. So it is important that you do some research about this great state that we're living in so that you'll be able to see all of the varied options for colleges and universities. And again, these are public, private and independent, and community colleges. So just food for thought. Thank you so much. Next slide. So really, I'm breaking this down into a checklist of things that I've used over the years and working with high school parents, and it doesn't necessarily pertain to seniors because I don't believe we have any seniors on this call, but this is for everybody else who sort of got next, if you will, for those who actually are up with juniors and sophomores. So these are some things that I've begun to share with seniors and juniors over the years, and I want you to begin to look at some of the information and definitely begin to build a plan, because I'm a firm believer that you plan to fail if you fail to plan. So it's really, really important. So on a student's college prep checklist, first there is, I say get a college prep notebook. It can be 99-cent composition book. It can be a blank spiral notebook. But this is a place where you'll keep and begin to write notes and gather some information. If you want to get really, really fancy, you can get a little 1-inch binder with folders so you can slip information inside of it. But definitely get a college prep notebook that contains your research information, colleges, majors, comparing costs, comparing admissions requirements. And it will be good for you to start that right now. So that's really, really, really important. One of the biggest things that you'll be putting in this college prep notebook is a list of your top 3 to 5 schools. This is where you begin. Now, will you run into more schools that get your attention? Absolutely. But I'll say begin with a realistic list of 3 to 5 schools that you want to begin to research based on what it is that the student wants to major in or what they want to do as a career. Most students don't know a whole lot about majors right now, but they do have some idea about what they want to do as a career or a general or broad career field. So definitely start with I call this a short list. It doesn't have to be exhausting, but this helps you focus your list enough. Get that list of schools. You begin that now. If we have 9th graders on the call, begin it now. Begin doing research and start with North Carolina in mind. Please start with North Carolina in mind first. Parents, please make sure there are state schools. And what I mean by state, I mean colleges in the state, not necessarily public. Make sure you start with schools in our state because they give you options, they give you affordability, and also they give you just a little bit more proximity. Although I know the students will be ready to break out of the house by 12th grade. These closer drives give parents a lot more peace of mind. So it's something to consider. As you approach senior year, no matter what year it is, and we talk about the senior exit interview in grade 12, but parents, I would go so far as to suggest that you are taking the time to schedule a meeting with you, your child, your high school child, and their school counselor. I would say once a year, just to begin to discuss where the student is, what are the counselor's recommendations, perhaps of some things that they could be doing. And again, you want to do this, I would say do this earlier. You don't want to just do this when it's registration time, because then the counselor is overwhelmed because they're having to register all of the students on their caseload. So when you get in early and begin to have these conversations, when it's not so hectic in the school counseling department. So those are certain things you want to do. And again, set a date, to do this every year, to have this conversation, to review the student's transcript. All of these things are of vital importance, not just for the students, but of vital importance to the parents. You want to know where they stand. That brings me to the next point. Know your stats. It's addressed to students, but that GPA, weighted and unweighted, that class rank, the number of courses they're taking, the rigor of the courses that they're taking, all of these things can be found out on the child's academic transcript, which is like what I call the report card on steroids. It's the official academic record where the student's academic record is sort of engraved in stone, if you will. It's permanent. It is the record that colleges, universities, employers, and military personnel will see as they make an assessment of your child as they graduate from high school. So you want to know what is on the transcript, and by all means, set whatever meetings are necessary for you and your family to know as much as you want to know about what's happening on your child's transcript. Then, beginning in grade 9, ninth graders normally love to hear this. Colleges don't really have a big concern about what happened before grade 9. They're looking at the academic record in grades 9 through 12. That is what they see. A lot of my rising ninth graders gave a sigh of relief because some of them are still trying to really get their acts together academically, behaviorally, those kinds of things. So starting in grade 9 is a great time for any student to rewrite their personal story, their academic story, their achievement story, their service history. And the academic resume affords a place and a space for that student to begin to record all of these wonderful happenings. It looks much like a professional resume, if you will. I will leave my contact information at the end of this presentation. And for those of you who are interested in seeing a sample, I will gladly send you a sample if you reach out to me, using the contact information that you'll see on the final slide. So I can send you templates for this. So academic resumes begin in grade 9. And it's important that you build it as you go. It gets harder when a senior is trying to reach back to memories of ninth grade. What did I do? How many times did I make the honor roll? How many clubs and organizations was I in that year? How many sports did I play that year? And then they call the counselor, who really doesn't keep a record of this stuff for students. It is what you need to keep track of for your child. Get a scrapbook, get a folder, if you will, and make sure you save these certificates, not because you want to put them up all over the house and embarrass the student, but because you want to be able to refer back to this documentation so that you can put achievement by achievement or achievement after achievement on the student's academic resume. So clubs and organizations, community service opportunities, student leadership opportunities, all of these will go on the student's academic transcript, and it needs to be built now. So you're saying, well, my kid's not in ninth grade, they're in 10th or 11th grade. It's not too late, but you want to get in and start drafting it so that it is ready. Why is it needed? 12th grade is the year where seniors are asking teachers, counselors especially, would you please write a letter of recommendation for me? I need this recommendation for college admissions. I need this recommendation for a scholarship application. And what they should be ready to give to the potential recommender is a copy of the academic resume. It makes it so much easier for that person to write a better letter on your student's behalf. And actually, it's a non-negotiable in our school. If I'm going to write a letter, students at the Ross already know, where's your resume? I don't even start the draft until you have given me your academic resume. So these are important things to be remembering as you go through your child's college prep checklist. Next slide, please. So you want to, while we're speaking of letters of recommendation, identify the teachers or staff members or even community persons who can write letters of recommendation for you. Then, as a courtesy, always give them a minimum of 2 weeks out of respect to their schedules to prepare this document. Sometimes you want to give 3 or 4 weeks if you really want something good and meaningful. Let me go back to the first statements of this bullet. Identify the teachers, again, or community persons who can write letters. Now, I phrased that intentionally. I did not say identify the teachers or community persons who would or will write letters. I specifically use the word can because your recommenders have to have the ability to write a letter, to write an effective, compelling letter, okay? So that's really, really important. You know, unfortunately, it may not be that all counselors know how to do this as effectively as they need to. So there's some things you're really, really gonna need to know about that. Now, we have resources. Some of us, we buy books that says letter writings and all of those things, how to write the effective letters, that we might be able to give a fair shake. But just because it was a teacher that the student liked does not mean that that teacher is able to put together a well-written, compelling letter. It is important because the scholarship organizations, admissions professionals, they have very little tolerance for poorly written products. And I probably would be getting an amen from our admissions representatives in the meeting. They have very little patience for poorly written products. So please, parents and students, identify folks who you know will be able to do that and to do it justice, okay? As we go through North Carolina, we have a place where a portal where we can find all of those 111 colleges we talked about. And that portal is through the College Foundation of North Carolina. We call that CFNC, and that will be at cfnc.org. This is where students can get in right now and get their accounts set up so that they're ready to do all of the necessary work for college preparation. So that CFNC account is most important. If you haven't heard about it yet, you've heard about it tonight. You're hearing about it tonight. Create a CFNC account. Okay, high school students, you will connect it to your high school, and that means your counselors or those professionals that can access the school's account will see every student in the school that has a CFNC account. I can see every student user at Reed Ross Classical School that has created an account if they linked it to Reed Ross Classical. So it is important that you set this account up now, parents, and use a non-CCS email students. You will need to use a personal email address. And while I'm speaking of personal email addresses, please make sure it is a professional sounding email address for student use, all right? It is important. I could give you examples, but we're recording, and I don't want the examples that I say to be in the recording, but you know what I'm talking about when you've seen an email address that makes you go, So it's important that students are getting professional email addresses, last name, dot first name, and a year of birth or something like that, that is as professional as possible when you're creating these accounts, because you will be able to use these accounts after high school graduation. And a month or so after they graduate from high school, Cumberland County is going to delete their entire email account. So they don't want pertinent information sitting in their CCS email account. That is important. Create an account with cfnc.org. All right. Start drafting a personal statement essay. I can tell you more about this essay. This essay can be used for multiple things, to include scholarships. And if you put the right information in one essay, you can use bits and pieces of it to satisfy so many different essay needs, and the student can begin to draft that now. Again, you'll be able to access this information by just contacting me with the information I'll give you. I will send you some tips to writing the personal statement essay. Hey, I'm a school counselor, so I'm all about resources and providing resources to you. So I don't just want to talk about it. I want to actually give you resources. If you just reach out to me and said, you said I could get, and I will say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, see attached. And I will make sure that you have what you need, because counselors are all about resources. While we're at it, what we know about college is that it costs, and it is not cheap for the most part. So you want to get on the scholarship hunt as quickly as possible. There are so many other scholarship match sites. I just listed one. This is a personal favorite for me, so I just pitch it out to my students. It is really comprehensive. It is like a one-stop shop. And I mean tens of thousands of scholarships are there. So I just started with an example at unigo.com. This is a match site. The student can start right now setting up a scholarship profile, and they will begin to match the student to scholarships according to what they put in their scholarship profile account. Now, this starts in grade 9. You will go in there and find out that there are scholarships, that students in grades 9, 10, and 11 qualify for already. So they don't have to wait to senior year to be eligible for a lot of scholarships. So definitely start now with the scholarship hunt. Literally, quite a few of them just require that you write creative essays. They're judged on the basis of writing essays. Some of the scholarships are actually called no essay scholarships. So please go through sites such as this and begin to see what's there for your students to apply for as early as 9th grade. They can apply and win in the 9th grade. So you did hear that correctly. So definitely when it comes to being on the money hunt, you got to have a little bit of hustle in you, because if you're going to get the money, you got to be hungry for it. And set a plan to get to maximize the amount of what we call merit-based or non-loan money. So anything that you don't have to pay back is good stuff. So loans mean you have to pay them back. But if it's a grant, if it's a fellowship, if you will, if it's a scholarship, those normally don't require any kind of payback. So just, that's my blurb about scholarships for you. Next slide. So as you're doing this, again, you want to have a plan. There are so many scholarships out there. And there are students across the country who are graduating high school with $1 to $2 million in scholarship offers. How in the world did they get those kinds of amounts? They set quotas 2 or 3 years before graduation, and they literally filled out applications that they were eligible for, and they kept doing it. And they took a weekend and did 3 to 5 every weekend. By the time they finished, they had done 250 scholarship applications. So by the time you do that, you have bettered your chances of receiving this money, much of which goes back unclaimed every year. And I mean billions of dollars of money just goes back because the students don't have time. They don't want to write the essays. They don't want to do the work. So much of the money goes unclaimed. The free money is out there. You set a plan as early as possible, and then you begin to better your chances. Those $1 and $2 million scholars set quotas weekly, and by the time it was all said and done, they had done well over 200 scholarship applications. So it's no wonder they were able to get so much money off, so many money offers, and even find out that they were awarded scholarship after scholarship. Now, that doesn't happen after you've done 5. I'm being honest. It doesn't really happen after you've done 10 or 15. You really have to put in the work for scholarships if you want to maximize it. And of course, at the end of all things is a solid academic record. The solid academic record goes without saying. It is what colleges really are looking for. It is what they're looking for, absolutely. They need to see that students can survive the academic loads of the college environment. So parents, those grades, when you're a student, your child is college bound, you have to play investigator, detective, whatever is necessary to make sure that you are monitoring grades. You're monitoring grades at the end of the semester. Yes, some students can have a bad quarter, but thankfully quarter grades do not show up on the college transcript. Only the final grade at the end, what we call the F1 average, only that grade shows up on the high school transcript. So just keep that in mind as you're monitoring student grades. That is of utmost importance. Okay, next slide. Parents, these are some things that you can do. And I've gotten a sun glare in my eyes. Give me just a second. My apologies for that. These are things that you can do. My parent checklist is short, but it needs to be followed nonetheless. Check on your child. Do not assume that they're taken care of or that they are taking care of business every minute of the day, every day of the week, okay? And I put down threaten at your own discretion. You know what works for your house completely, but please make sure that students do not let go of the reins when it comes to being prepared for college. You must monitor. They must be monitored. I know you want to give them independence, but when it comes to looking at their academics and their grades, this process must be monitored with great deliberation. It is important. Set deadlines for them, okay, to keep them motivated. Leverage whatever you need to leverage. I need this. We're looking at maybe trying to get you a car, but this is what I'm going to need to see in your grades. So begin to talk about that. Yeah, you talked about a job, but before the job comes, this is what I'm going to need to see before the job, and these are the kind of grades I'm going to need to see while you hold the job, so I will let you keep it. So those are things you really, really want to be really intentional about, okay? And as you prepare for this college prep year, going out of junior year into senior year, have a plan for paying for college application fees. Every student may not qualify for free reduced lunch, which means sometimes they're going to, parents, you'll bear the full burden of application fees. Some are $35, some are $45, some are $85. And when you're talking about trying to do 7, 8, or 9 college applications for your child to, keep their options open, you definitely want to have a plan for making sure these things can get paid for. It will not be processed normally without that payment, right? North Carolina schools have a great opportunity to participate in college application week, which is great. It was 2 weeks this year, and there are a host of schools, many on this call even, that participate and will allow for that span of time for students to complete and submit applications for free. So you want to be paying attention. This is only for seniors, mind you. But for senior year, you want to be looking out for the fall for whenever college application week is. That is the time to really, really get it done, when colleges are agreeing to waive the application fees. Any college-related events in the community and at your child's school, please attend. And you will need access when it comes to things having to do with financial aid. FAFSA, you will hear a lot about. The free application for federal student aid. You're going to need tax information, parents. You're going to need it ready. One of the biggest woes of senior year for students is that their parents sort of drag their feet with getting the tax information needed for them to complete the FAFSA and other things. So please, please help your child by making sure you're on top of this information and have it ready when they need it. Okay, that is really, really important. That is our student and our parent checklist. Hopefully I've given enough information. That's a lot, but we are recording. And again, I'll be glad to follow up with anyone. That is our parent checklist. If you have any questions for later, we will get to them at the end of the session. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. And we're going to start our panel discussion entitled Mythbusters, but we want to meet these wonderful people who are here with us. And so let's go ahead and roll the slide. So grateful to have Mr. Michael Head, Senior Associate Director of Admissions at Fayetteville State University with us. Thank you, Mr. Head.
Hello, thank you.
We have Mr. Jamie Legg, who is the Dean of Admissions of Methodist University. So glad to have you with us, Mr. Legg. You want to give a greeting?
Hello, everyone.
All right, so glad to have you. Next, we have Mrs. Angela Sykes, who is the admissions recruiter at Fayetteville Technical Community College. Welcome, Mrs. Sykes.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for having us here tonight.
We then have Ms. Kristen Waddell, who's the Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions at UNC Pembroke. Ms. Waddell, thank you for being with us.
Hi, thank you all for having us tonight.
And last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Stone Yeats, who is an admissions counselor at UNC Greensboro. Welcome, Mr. Yeats.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, and thank you to everybody for joining us tonight.
So we're going to begin to roll with our Mythbusters, and we're going to address 10 myths tonight. And each of these panelists have been assigned some myths that they're going to address. I will be reading the myth. Then after the myth is read, that admissions professional will begin to talk about why this probably is indeed a myth, and they're going to help us debunk it. And so please be listening, because some of these may have been your misconceptions about the college experience. So we are going to get started with that. Let's go. Myth number 1 says, it's better to get good grades than take challenging courses as it relates to getting into college. Mr. Head.
Well, it's always great to get good grades, but it's even better to get good grades as you continue to move forward and challenge yourself. Because when you are seeking that dream school of yours, they are looking to see, especially if you're pursuing a selective institution, right? You have selective, you have semi-selective, and then you have rolling admissions institutions. So depending on the institution that you are seeking to be admitted to, they may be looking for students who have continuously challenged themselves in the classroom from day one. I tell people all the time, it's easy to get an A in an easy class, right? But how do you perform in those challenging classes? How do you perform around individuals who are just as intelligent as you are? You know, how do you fare against those individuals? And that's the kind of thing that determines scholarship opportunities. So it determines admittance into the institutions of your choice, scholarship opportunities, but at the base of it all, it enhances your individual academic base. And so that's what it's about. So, you know, as an institution, we are all looking for students who have continuously challenged themselves in the classroom to go above and beyond to separate themselves from other students in their senior class.
Thank you so much, Mr. Head. I have time for a 30-second ad. Is there anybody in our panelists? All right, we're going to move on to myth number 2. I need to decide on my career before I can choose a college. Ms. Waddell, what do you have for us?
So it is important to have an idea of what you want to do with your life. I know when I was coming out of high school, I had the idea that I wanted to become a pediatric cardiologist. So I knew that in order to get there, I had to start somewhere. So you have to have a game plan. So know about what you want to do. I know you heard that I said a pediatric cardiologist, and I'm not doing anything near that, but that's okay. We'll talk about that a little later. But you have the opportunity to select colleges that will help you hit your plan A, plan B, and plan C. Always have those backups. That's important. So you're not feeling as if you fail if you decide to change your mind. You can come into college undecided, but it's easier if you have some type of idea of what you want to do and make sure that school has what you want to do, so they can at least help you get where you need to go. I chose to come to Pembroke because I could get a biology degree. So that was something that I looked at when I was deciding exactly which school I wanted to attend. And you need to make sure that you're doing that as well. So students, if you have an idea of what you want to do, make sure that whatever college you're attending has something that can help you get there. It's all about where you want to go and having the plan to get exactly where it is.
Thank you so much, Ms. Waddell. Is there a 30-second ad? All right, so we're on to myth number 3. You can't get into a good college if you did poorly in 9th or 10th grade. Mr. Yeats.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that one is definitely a myth, especially for, don't want to speak for everyone here, but I would say a lot of our institutions would agree with that. My best advice is to always, as Mr. Head said, try to do your best, try to take those rigorous, challenging courses, really push yourself and step outside of your comfort zone and try to go a step above and a step beyond academically. But we also know mistakes happen. You know, we know that not every class is going to be every student's strong suit. You're not going to be the best at every single subject, and that is okay. Essentially, what we're looking for is academic growth. Now, you can struggle a little bit your 9th grade year, but what we want to see you do after that is recognize that you're struggling, seek help, seek out the advice of your high school counselor, seek out resources and tools that you can use to be more successful in an academic setting. Ultimately, all of us, I would say, are really just making sure when we're reviewing applications, we want to make sure that students are prepared to be successful when they come to our respective universities. We don't want to put you in a position where you're not going to be successful when you get here. We want to set you up for success. We don't want to set you up for failure. And the best way to demonstrate that, if you do struggle a little bit your 9th or 10th grade year, definitely work hard to improve on that. We all know a GPA is really easy to bring down. It's really hard to bring up, and we take that into consideration as well. And, you know, most universities, colleges will give you the opportunity to supply an essay, and that's an opportunity for you to talk about any hardships or extenuating circumstances that may have negatively impacted your academic performance in a way that you don't feel like your transcripts accurately reflect your true academic ability. So we only know as much about you as you put on your application, so definitely explain everything.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yeats. Is there a 30-second ad?
Just really quick, you know, it's as they always say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. In addition to that, you know, most of the institutions, we are looking to see what your trajectory is, what your academic trajectory is. You know, have you consistently increased your profile, you know, from day one? And so you can certainly recover from not performing to the top level in your 9th or 10th grade year.
Good stuff. Thank you so much. Myth number 4. Here we go. Here we go. The best time to visit colleges is after you have been admitted. Mr. Legg.
Mac, I told you earlier, you gave me the 2 easiest ones. I'm sure my fellow panelists are jealous that I get this one, but yeah, that's exactly just the opposite in my mind. To me, the best time to visit colleges is well before you've been admitted, and quite honestly, well before you even apply. In my mind, students should start visiting colleges, you know, on an informal basis as early as when they're, you know, first in high school and maybe even before. When you're on vacation, if you're heading to the beach, you know, stop by a campus. If you're going to the mountains, drive through a campus. The best time to officially visit campuses, in my mind, is you know, sometime during the junior year, as you're starting to get serious about schools, and use those visits that you do during the junior year, maybe even the summer, and even early in the senior year. Use those visits to help determine which schools you're actually going to apply to. You know, not wait until after you've been admitted, because at that point in time, with some schools, you may not find out until you're admitted until January, February, March of your senior year. and you're going to have to turn around and make a decision about whether or not that school is the right fit for you by May, and that's just too late. So to me, you need to start that process well before you even start the application process.
Good stuff. Thank you, Mr. Legg. Is there a 30-second ad?
Yeah, I'll hop in really quick and I'll say, it's just like shopping online, right? All of our websites are going to look great online, but the best way to find the best fit is to actually go in person and try the campus on for size and make sure it really is where you want to spend the next 4+ years of your life.
And I want to add really quickly is that, when you're applying to colleges, it costs money. And so if you visit schools and realize, hey, I'm not even interested in this school anymore, it saves you that application fee on the front end.
Good stuff. Thank you so much. Really, really good information coming out here. On to myth number 5, I will automatically be successful in college if I just focus on my grades. What you got for us, Mr. Head?
Absolutely false. A good part of your college experience and how you succeed in college is how you transition mentally, how you transition socially. And so it's beyond the classroom. Certainly the classroom is a big part of it, but it's multifaceted. You need to know, where your resources are. When you need help, who do you turn to? What kind of people you need to hang around. Be around ambitious people, join organizations, start your networking. All of those things equal success in college beyond the classroom. And so it's definitely important that you mentally, socially, and academically engage in your college experience to make it a total experience.
Good stuff. Thank you, sir. Is there a 30-second ad?
Sure. I tell students every single day, get involved on whatever campus it is that you attend. Regardless what school you choose to attend, get involved, make those connections, and build your support system there. Your parents aren't going to be there every single day while you're in class or on campus. It's those people that you're in class with, that you're joining those organizations with, that your advisors. Make sure you're building those connections, and that will help you be more successful in college.
Thank you so much. All right, on to myth number 6. Community college is only for students, I like this one, who are not good enough for a 4-year school. Miss Sykes, what do you have?
This is absolutely not true. It's one of the biggest myths that we face. So the community college is actually the best kept secret. We have many students that come to us that have GPAs of 3.0 or higher. Community colleges have an open door policy. This means students must have a high school diploma or GED to attend. There are no hard admissions deadlines, and the community college is designed for students that want to get into the workplace quickly. They can receive a certificate and a trade skill in just a year, or they can complete their first 2 years and then transfer to a 4-year school to finish their degree major. Beginning at the community college offers many advantages. It's for the student that wants to save money. The first 2 years cost a fraction of what a 4-year school will cost. 1 year to community college is about $2,500 versus a 4-year school. If a 4-year school runs between $10,000 to $50,000 a year, that's a savings of $20,000 to $100,000 in just 2 years. Oh, and the community colleges have no application fees. So cost is a really big factor of whether or not a student would want to attend a community college. It's also for the student that doesn't want to test. Community colleges don't require any kind of admissions test, and that means no ACT or SAT scores. It's also for the student that wants a smaller class size, which allows for more one-on-one attention. Because classes are about 25 students or less, they get that attention. It's for the student that wants flexibility in their classes. A lot of students are working while they're going to school. And the community college, they can schedule their classes around their work schedule because these schools offer day and nighttime classes. You may also like to know that community colleges provide the same quality education as the four-year schools. So just to clarify, community college really is for everyone.
Good stuff. Thank you. Is there a 30-second ad? She set us all straight. Thank you, Ms. Sykes. All right. So on to myth number 7. You must decide on a career or major before you select a college. Just have another stab at it.
This is definitely false. A lot of students actually enter college as undecided majors because they may have an idea of what they want to do, but they don't know exactly how they want to get there, or they may be interested in two polar opposite things. The wonderful thing about universities today is you will have to take general education courses, which will allow you to kind of get a feel of many different things. And usually in college anyway, if you come in with a major already declared, you're likely to change it. I changed my major 3 times while I was at Pembroke. And like I told you earlier, I started off with a biology degree, ended up with exercise sports science. So at university levels, you have those opportunities to really pick and choose what you want to do and find what you're passionate about. Because of those general education courses, it's going to give you a well-rounded liberal arts education.
Great stuff, Ms. Waddell. Thank you. Is there a 30-second ad? All right. Moving on to myth number 8. Almost to the end of our list. Planning for college starts during the junior year of high school.
Yeah, once again, Mr. Mack, you've thrown me a complete softball. Planning for college really starts, in my mind, ideally before a student even enters high school, but certainly early in the high school years. The course selection, as we discussed earlier, with the rigor of the courses and that type of thing, is incredibly important. You know, in North Carolina public schools, we're blessed that the default curriculum is college preparatory, but that doesn't mean that every college preparatory curriculum is appropriate for every school that students may be considering. So to me, that planning really can start as early as middle school in my mind. I know that my kids both took some high school courses during their middle school years, and were able to move into higher level courses when they got into high school. I have a daughter who's a senior right now, and we started planning pretty early in the process. She ended up with, I think, 4 or 5 AP courses and a total of 6 dual enrollment courses. And you're not able to do those things without early planning and getting that process rolling early in the process. So yeah, that myth is completely busted.
Thank you, Mr. Legg. Is there a 30-second ad?
You know, some people literally start planning as early as pre-birth of their child. You know, they're already planning for the financial side of things from day one, you know, developing those college plans, in addition to, you know, as early as elementary school, exposing them to college campuses and different activities on those campuses, just so that they can be part of that environment. And so it starts as early as you want for it to start, to be candid.
Thank you so much, sir. 2 very great perspectives, one on the student end and one on the parent end of the planning for college. So thank you again. Really appreciate that. Myth number 9, you will have a better chance of getting into professional or graduate school if you go to a university that offers these graduate programs. What do you say, Mr. Yates?
Well, I know there's a couple different perspectives out there, but in my personal opinion, I'm going to say this one is also a myth. All right. The thing that I want you to know is that the specific program you might be interested in may not even be offered at the undergraduate level. There are tons of universities that have great programs that are recognized, you know, regionally or nationally at the undergraduate level, but don't offer a graduate level program. There are other institutions that have phenomenal graduate level programs, but maybe their undergraduate program isn't as well recognized as some other institutions. You do not have to, if there's a specific graduate program you're interested in at a particular institution, you do not necessarily have to attend that institution for your undergraduate degree. Now, I will say there are a lot of institutions that are looking to diversify their graduate school and the students within their graduate school. And oftentimes they particularly look at students from other institutions because they have a different background and they have different academic experiences. And that can help diversify the academic experience of their graduate program and help broaden the perspectives of students in those programs. So I would say it's absolutely important to have a plan if you know you're going to do a postgraduate program. Not every school has a medical school. Not every school has a dental school. Not every school has a pharmacy school, right? And it's okay to be thinking about those programs now, and I highly recommend thinking about them early. But don't limit yourself to one institution just because you're really passionate about one of their graduate programs or postgraduate programs. You know, definitely check out all of your options, and it's absolutely okay to mix and match two different institutions.
Good stuff. Thank you, sir. Is there a 30-second ad?
Yeah, I would like to add something there. While I do agree that it's a myth that you must go to the school that is has the graduate program that you want, I would caution to say that this myth is always a myth, because there are certain programs, particularly in some of the health sciences programs, where it's actually advantageous to do your undergraduate degree on the campus. And I'll use Methodist as an example. We've got 3 programs in the health sciences that are graduate level programs: our physician assistant program, our Doctor of Physical Therapy program, and our Doctor of Occupational Therapy program. All 3 of those programs actually give preferential consideration to students who do their undergraduate coursework on our campus. And that's not uncommon, particularly in the health sciences field. So, I would certainly encourage you to reach out to the graduate programs and ask them directly if they give preferential consideration, because that is very common, especially in the health sciences arena.
Good stuff. Thank you for the vital perspective there, Mr. Leck. Appreciate it. It brings us to our final myth of the evening, folks. College is only for the smartest students.
You gotta love this myth. What do they mean by smart? Is it an IQ? Is it that they get straight A's? Maybe they just apply themselves more and studied more than others. I've met people with doctorate degrees that don't have any common sense, which makes them seem not so smart. And I've met people that only have high school diplomas that are some of the smartest people that I know. Everyone is smart about something. Maybe it's that you can read music, or you never got a math problem wrong. Maybe you can rebuild your carburetor. My point is, everyone is smart about something. If you want to learn about something different, or you want to learn more about what you're already good at, that is what college is for. It's not just for smart people. You're taught what you need to know. Sure, some of us may have to study harder than others, but it doesn't mean that college is only for the students that have 3.0s and above. You'll find that some subjects will come easier to you than others, but we all struggle with something in school at some point. It doesn't mean that you're not smart. It just means you might have to study a little harder and a little more often. Most jobs require their employers to have most jobs require their employees to have some level of college education. And it really doesn't matter where you go to school, but it is important that you go to school. Just make sure that it's the school that's the right fit for you.
Great stuff. Great perspective. I love it. Everybody has their own level of smarts. Is there a 30-second ad to this one? Right.
Well, I will say this: college is for the smartest students, right? You got to have enough sense to know that college is important. So it takes a certain level of smarts to kind of get it, so maybe I'll come from that angle.
You're so right, Mr. Head, because I wanted to say that. So I'm glad you did. Only smart people do go to school because they're smart enough to go to school.
How important it is.
It is important.
Great stuff. Love the tag team. What I will do, because we do have some time remaining, I do want to give just your, and it can be as broad or as specific as it needs to be. I'll call our panelists by name. I just want you to give your best final thought to these families and students as they are in the planning process, what you think might be your most crucial point. And then after that, we'll segue into our question period. Mr. Head, I want to start with you. Your last best piece of advice as they continue their search.
Reach out to the schools that your students are interested in attending. Connect with their admissions officers as early as possible to see what they are looking for in their students for admissions, and get that information and march towards those goals. Lately, in the last couple of weeks, really throughout my career here at Federal State, I always run into individuals who want to graduate from high school early. And as a result, they end up missing courses that they need to get into the college of their choice. So yes, you do graduate early, but then you're missing certain courses that you need to get into the college of your choice. So touch base with those colleges you're interested in as early as possible to see what they're looking for in their potential students.
Great stuff. Thank you, sir. Ms. Waddell, final nugget of wisdom.
I would say find your fit. Get onto the campuses that you're thinking about. Make sure that that campus feels like home to you. Every school is not for everybody, and you may have this one particular school in mind, and then you walk on campus and you don't feel it. So you'll understand the feeling as soon as you get on campus when you know that you're where you're supposed to be. So make sure you're visiting campuses early, tour campuses, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Make sure you're building connections, and even ask people outside of the admissions office just how their experience has been at those schools.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. Final thoughts, nugget of wisdom, Mr. Legg.
Yeah, I think, for me, the thing would be to try to make the process as enjoyable and stress-free as possible. I'm not sure I did a great job of that as a dad, to be perfectly honest with my daughter, but she has decided what school she's attending, and we're all very pleased with that decision. But also know that you can't make a wrong decision. If you, as Kristen said, if you find the place that's the right fit for you, then you've done something right. And then when you get on that campus, take advantage of all of those opportunities that campus offers, and take advantage of the reasons that place was the right fit for you. If you do those things, you can't go wrong with the decision.
Thank you, sir. Very, very good. Ms. Sykes, parting wisdom.
Well, my parting wisdom is don't ever think you can't go to college because of money, because of the cost. There is a college out there that is going to meet your need. Every single college has their own scholarships to take advantage of. And there are so many grants out there. There's federal grants, there's state grants. There are so many scholarships that you can find on things like fastweb.com. You just have to answer those questions that they're asking you honestly, and then they're going to tell you what scholarships you should apply for. Don't ever let the fear of not having enough money keep you from going to school, because there is a college out there that you can go to. You just have to find the right fit and fill out that FAFSA form and get all the help that you can get. Price should never be a reason why you feel you can't go to school. That's it for me.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for that share. And Mr. Yeats, what do you have?
Well, it's a little tough going last because all the great answers have already been taken. So I'm just going to reiterate a little bit of some things that have already been mentioned. Mr. Head brought this up. I think it's very important that you are aware of what the minimum course requirements are for you to be admitted to a specific university. I see it all the time where a student is missing that second foreign language, or they're missing their fourth math. Those tend to be the two biggest offenders. And I know that at least some of the schools in the UNC system can attest to that. So absolutely be aware of those. And don't be afraid to ask for help. You may be the first in your family to go to college, and you may have not a clue what you are doing, but know that all of us here tonight are here to help you. We really want the best for you. As it was mentioned before, there's no one size fits all school, and you really just need to reach out to everybody, get as much information as possible, start as early as possible, and give yourself the luxury of time.
What an excellent way to wrap us up, Mr. Yates. You did swimmingly, sir, swimmingly. Great stuff. Thank you, guys. My panelists, thank you so much. You guys, your expertise, your knowledge, your calm has been invaluable to us this evening. So I do want to give a very, very personal note of thanks to each of you.